Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. We're 1 week away from Christmas there today, folks. December 18th. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Got Keith Engle coming back to the program 30 minutes past the hour. Got a lot I want to ask Keith. Want to get into a Patriots question about Drake May and, of course, about how they played last week. I thought they really looked ill-prepared. Such a slow start in that Arizona game. But a lot of I told you so there, folks. A lot of I told you so there. Michael Penix named the starter of the Atlanta Falcons. Going to talk about that. Also, Baker Mayfield, I tell you what, I'm really surprised. This guy has got a lot of willpower here. We'll talk about that as well. Big win last week there for him and more. So let's stand by here. Stand by, folks. Let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then. Well, that's a great intro, isn't it? I love that. Love that National Streaming Sports there. And again, folks, thoughts and prayers are with John McGrath Mack there of National Streaming Sports. He's back having some health issues, and we're going to be thinking about him and praying for that for Mac, and of course Linda going through a tough time right here at Christmas time. Okay, all right, everybody. Let's start with this. Michael Penix, as I said, should be, and I'll play a soundbite here in just a minute, named the starter of the Atlanta Falcons. Well, let's play from this program last week. This is what I said about the Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, and how Raheem Morris should handle the question about Kirk Cousins' contract and whatnot. That's what I would tell the general public, and this is what I would tell the team. I'm paid to help this team win football games. I'm not paid to satisfy contracts here. You know, given the what Herm Edwards say, you play to win the game. You play to win the game. Okay? I'm trying to put this, and this is me talking to them, if I'm Raheem Morris, I'm trying to put this team in position to win football games. That's all. Right now, we're not winning football games. 2 out of the last 3 games have been blowouts, and for whatever reason, my quarterback can't throw a touchdown no more. He's not getting a lot of velocity out the football. And we've got this rookie sensation here who's about 24, 25 years old. Why not take a shot? Yeah. And, of course, they took that shot yesterday. Just when I got off the program, it said Michael Penix's name started. Okay, well, all right. So now the question is, what do you do with Kirk Cousins' contract here? And a lot of the NFL reporters put out some posts here on the X app here. Tom Pelestrio said the Falcons' options with Kirk Cousins after benching in favor of rookie Michael Penix. Now, mind you, that Cousins has a no trade. This guy has more benefits for a guy who's, I think, maybe won 1 playoff game in his whole career. Remember, he's made more money than Tom Brady from the NFL, directly from the NFL. And he's got a no-trade clause contract coming off of, I think he was 36, coming off of Achilles, a torn Achilles. So, great agent, and people buy into Kirk Cousins. So, this is what Tom Pelestrio says. The Falcons' options with Kirk Cousins, release him before March 16th. That's a big day. I guess that's the new league year. March the 16th of 2025, no post-June 1st destination. They still would owe him $27.5 fully guaranteed money and carry a dead cap hit of $65 million next year. Release him before the 16th post-June first destination, same cash, but they spread the dead cap. They spread, this is before the 16th, okay? Before and after. Same cash, but they spread the dead cap over 2 years. They could spread it from $40 million in 25 and 25 in 26. Or they could trade him, pending he agrees to it. They carry a dead cap number of 37.5 next year, but they'll save the 27.5 in cash and 2.5 million in cap. If Cousins remains on Atlanta's roster, another $10 million in 26 would be fully guaranteed. They're in a bit of a pickle. We talked about this at the time. This was general manager, coach, and saying, if we can't get the quarterback we want because they're picking 8th, I thought Penix was a very good pick. I thought Penix could be the number 1 player in this draft at times. He looked like a pro at Washington last year. Now I think maybe the jury's still out. You don't want to jump to conclusions, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The jury's still out on everybody, but it looks like Jalen Daniels may be the best one out of the 4, throwing Bo Nix per se, throwing Bo Nix, who's playing pretty well there in Denver. You just never know. A lot of it is coach, system, and whatnot, player maturity. Now, he's also an older player, Penix is, so we'll have to see how he plays out per se. This is what I thought about today coming home from work. I thought to myself, I wonder, this has been tried with the Cleveland Browns. They did it a few years ago. It wasn't with the big name player. Would the Atlanta Falcons trade upon, air quotes, Kirk Cousins' approval would they give up a draft pick just to get somebody to take Kirk Cousins' salary off? Now, these contracts in the NFL, they're going to take some dead cap money no matter what. But who wants to take Kirk Cousins when he's down like this at his price tag? That's the key. And for him, and now as a general manager, this is what I've been on showing up in with the Giants about. It seems unlikely that would happen, but you still have to overturn those rocks. You still have to do your due diligence, your service to the team, your commitment as far as making those calls and see, okay, would you take him? What if we throw in a draft pick, an extra 4th round pick or something like that, where you just give us one pick back? Really, we're just trying to get rid of Kurt here. We're trying to get this dead cap money. They've got a good team. They've got a above average offensive line. They've got an excellent running back there, and Bijan Robinson. An excellent running back, and he's just coming into year 3. This guy's going to be really good. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, good 1-2 punch there at receiver, without a doubt. Love those guys. Now, they may move off Cal Pitts. I know his contract's coming up here pretty soon at the tight end position. They've got some decent players on the secondary. They need help at defensive tackle. They can use one more corner. I know they got Jesse Bates there. But could you get to get some cap relief, send the pick over, because you got a pretty decent roster. Give somebody a pick. That's kind of like an NBA trade, right? Except the only difference between the NFL and the NBA, you don't have to match up salaries, which is very good for NFL, a positive. So it's something to think about, you know. And like I said last week, as far as Penix is concerned, I don't know if he's going to be better. I do know one thing. He can get away from a pass rush, and he's very accurate, and he is a left-hander, so that's going to take some work with the center because, you know, that he's total different play. He's a southpaw, you know. Kirk Cousins is right-handed. So stuff like that, putting him in with 3 games, 3 games to go. We'll see how this thing works out. Can you go back to Cousins afterwards? I don't know. It depends on what the relationship is in the locker room. My guess is Cousins will be a trooper about it, but who knows? Who knows how this thing is going to play out? My guess is they're going to have to cut him and just let it bygones be bygones. They're going to have to take that hit here. They can put it all in 1 year. They can spread it out over 2 years. But mind you, folks, there's a Denver Bronco team right now that's got $85 million in total dead cap, not for this year, total dead cap. 53 is hitting them right now. Right now, $53 million in dead cap. And the Broncos have 9 wins. They're in the driver's seat to get a playoff spot. Compared to teams, that's what makes me frustrated here out of Nashville. Tennessee, with some of the most money in cap room, they've got a second-year player in Will Levis, and they're sitting here at 3 wins when they probably should have 8 or 9 wins, like a Denver Bronco team. But you know, not the right quarterback coach combo there. So, if, in other words, would Arthur Blank be okay with it? He had to have known once they drafted Penix at 8, knowing the talent Penix is, that Penix is pretty high profile. He was in a national championship game against Michigan last year, you know. So it's something to monitor. Then on the other hand, maybe Penix thinks to join up. You know, I mean, we got to play it all out. Maybe Penix thinks to join up. So this is still something to ponder on. But Kirk Cousins has got a nagging injury. He's not disclosing, which is against league rules, by the way. Or maybe he simply may be washed up and they may have to just eat the money anyways. You kind of wish that they had a 2-year deal instead of a 4-year deal, but he's just one expensive. And it looked like a great investment the first half of the season. This team was leading. They swept Tampa. Look how hot Tampa is. You know, they swept Tampa, and they're in the driver's seat, and they just seem to fall off, man. They were actually blown out by that Denver team. Now that Denver team has got all that dead cap money just a few short weeks ago. Speaking of Tampa, now, this is what makes me – how do I put this? This is what gives that little bit of hesitancy. Like I said last night on the program about just throwing away Will Levis with the bathwater, wasting that second-round pick, is Baker Mayfield. I mean, I know Baker Mayfield was considered a better prospect than Will Levis. Maybe he's just got more gumption. He's not as tall as Levis. Levis was considered to be a possible number 2 overall pick. At one time, there was rumors that he was going to get drafted over Stroud. And the cockiness rubbed, multiple reports, that he rubbed coaches the wrong way. I think he was going to go like 4 to Indianapolis. And it was Richardson that had a more of a hump. It looks like Richardson may be a miss too. I don't know about a bust, but anyways, so he dropped all the way to the second round. Just giving you a little refresher there on Levis. Now, he didn't have a great last year there at Kentucky, but the year before that, he had a really good year, okay? I say all that because Baker Mayfield, I was totally out on Mayfield. The way he acted, some of his calling out coaches, he always had to have something to say. And I thought this guy's maturity level is not where it needs to be an accurate, a successful starting NFL quarterback. He's too short. He's too slow. He thinks he's faster than what he is. He was just pushing himself to play. And I kind of blame Kevin Stefanski for letting him play that last year there at Cleveland when he had the shoulder injury there. And I forgot what that was called. But either way, it just didn't sit. Plus, he bounced around. And for what he has done, is just an absolute, I won't say miracle, but I didn't see that coming for him. I would have gave you great odds on saying that not only is he going to go and get to the playoffs and win a playoff game in Tampa, he's going to lose his offensive coordinator. Then he's going to be better with a defensive-minded head coach, not necessarily a Kevin O'Connell type of guy at Minnesota. Not a Sean McVay type of guy with the Rams, who's really scheming up some good schemes for him. He got Todd Bowles, the Jets coach, who looked terrible as a head coach. Very good coordinator. But I became a big Todd Bowles fan over the years, not to get too far off topic here, but when he told that race baiting smart mouth reporter there, talking about he should be happier because he's a black coach and blah, blah, blah. And it was something in regards to that. I was trying to do that race baiting, and a white lady at that. And I guess because he was going against the black coach or something like that. But he said, listen, I don't look at people with color skin. I just look at people as people. And I really appreciate that from Bowles. But anyways, I digress. Baker Mayfield, last Sunday, I was wrong. I thought the Chargers would beat them. 22 out of 27, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. The big road win against the Chargers. So rare to see a career turn around like Mayfield. Like I said before, his play attitude, just for him to maintain that mental fortitude like he has. I mean, remember, he lost Dave Canals, who looks like he's kind of working his coaching and his system into Bryce Young. you could start to see, and I know that Dallas got the best of them. I don't know if that may have been some line issues or whatever, but Bryce Young been playing some good football. They were a drop pass away from beating the Eagles, who's playing the best football in the whole league, you know, with all their injuries. And that's a shout out to Dave Canals. But Baker Mayfield, going back to him, this dude, I mean, he's playing his best football. His completion percentage this year is 70.8. It was 64 last year. You know, he's got 32 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He's got 4 more touchdowns than he did all of last year. They're making him throw more, and they're actually winning. They're winning the division. Remember, he had the 1 year with Carolina. He spent part of the year in Carolina, part of the year with the Rams in 22. I mean, it just looked like he was just a total bust, you know? Him and Sam Darnold, they were drafted in the same draft, you know? And that makes me think, well, should Tennessee continue to be patient with a guy like Levis? Because that was for sure Darnold was a bust. Some of those games with the Jets, I mean, the guy's running in the end zone, head first, getting himself concussed, fumbling the ball away. I guess you could probably say the same thing about Daniel Jones. I think a lot of it is we just don't know how hard these guys are really working sometimes. Even if you have all the access that you have on the inside, we've got phones, we've got more reporters than ever, we've got more information than ever. If a player's out there screwing up, there's a good chance you could see it on somebody's cell phone. TMZ may pick it up. It's really hard for a player to get by and for us to know that he does not have a good work ethic, that he's a knucklehead, the way Charles Barkley would say, he's a knucklehead. It's really difficult to see that, you know. Like I said, Baker Mayfield is a shorter player. He's still not the fastest guy in the world, but he's got the job done, and I just cannot believe it. I really can't. Yeah, that was correct. 70.8% completion percentage. 3,600 yards, just now 32 and 14. He's got to get them picks down. But it's nothing like he was in year 2 with the Cleveland Browns at 21 interceptions, you know. But I tell you what, that's good for Baker Mayfield and good for Coach and good for Coach Bowles down there in Tampa. Now, it's not over in the NFC South, but it's pretty close. I mean, with 3 games to go, we'll see how this thing plays out here going forward. Got a few minutes here. So Michael Vick, I guess I'll be able to throw opinion here. Michael Vick, former quarterback, signed 2 $100 million contracts, former number 1 overall pick. Remember, he went to prison short time for dog fighting. Everybody thought he was washed up, thought he was going to be a criminal, thought he was going to be a sad case in the NFL at one point. Maybe he was going to be like a, what was that guy's name? Something Lawrence, and I'll be able to think of it. There was a running back for a star running back for Nebraska. And there was a guy, what was that guy's name for Nebraska? He was really good in the mid-90s. They won 2 national championships, Andre Gibson. And man, this guy got out of the NFL. Lawrence Phillips. Man, good call, Andre. Boy, that's quick thinking, man. You must have had you some caffeine today. And this guy started getting in trouble. And I tell you, man, it turned out to be a tragic. Got involved in drugs. He got himself locked up in prison multiple times. He ran some kids over on a football field. Andre 3000 Gibson says, I don't play, sir. End up killing himself in prison. I mean, obviously, you've had stories like that. You've had the Aaron Hernandez, who was a much bigger star, get in prison and commit suicide as well. But Michael Vick, I believe Michael Vick, when he came back and started playing for Andy Reid, and I've listened to him on sports talk shows after he retired, and I tell you what, I love the advice that he was given. I love the advice that Vic was given here to former players. I remember him, Colin Kaepernick, giving him some advice about cutting his hair, showing that he's very he got a lot of heat by that. The media just sucks up to every single player. But Michael Vick said, hey, man, why don't you cut your hair and act like you're taking this job serious? When Kaepernick was trying to get back in the league. Vic is a very serious guy, now. And now he is taking a head coaching job at Norfolk State. That's an HBC. Andre, historical black college. You're out of Nashville. I'm out of Nashville. Eddie George is having success down at TSU. Deion Sanders may have started something here. Deion Sanders may have simply started something, and I think it's a good thing. A lot of these former players, and Warren Sapp is one of them. I've heard this story. Warren Sapp is a defensive line coach now with the Colorado, with Deion Sanders, and he was saying that he kind of felt lost post career, and he feels rejuvenated as a person. So not only are you helping these young men, you're helping the schools get notoriety. You also helping these young men are helping these former players, engage. And I'm really happy for Michael Vick. Michael Vick has been to the very top of the mountain, and he's been to the very bottom of the mountain and back to the top. That is a great story. But you've got Deion Sanders. You have I just mentioned Eddie George. When you're big, he's saying, Andre's saying, when you've been to the big stage, you can relate. You've got Eddie George. You've got Deion Sanders. Ed Reed had been in talks, and that fell through. Former Miami Hurricane Ed Reed, of him doing it. A lot of players are getting into coaching and really enjoying it. There's a coach now for, I can't remember, the UAB coach. He was a high school coach. And I think he's going to end up getting a big time job. And because he beat the Titans. He beat the Titans as Trent Dilfer in 2000 as a Baltimore Raven. Now he was coaching high school here, and now he is coaching for UAB. I could tell by listening to Dilfer, he's feeling as happy as I've ever heard him be as well. So it's not just him helping the young men. The young men are helping him. They're helping him. They're helping Michael Vick, And so Trent Dilfer was coaching high school here in Nashville. Now he's coaching University of Alabama in Birmingham. So it's a good thing. I like to see it. It gives these smaller schools. Teddy Bridgewater just won a championship in Florida as a high school coach. So I'm really happy for Vic. I'm happy for all these coaches, and that's a great story. That is a great story, and I just look forward to being in tune with that story. And on that note, it looks like I've got the great Keith Engel in the background from TGI Sports, also the College Huddle Show. He just finished it. I shared it on my page on Facebook here. Let's have a round of applause here for Keith Engel.
Thank you,
hey, man, the crowd loves you. Andre says I'm loving it.
Your crowd gets bigger every week. Jeez.
Oh, man. Oh, I tell you, Keith, Yeah, what do you think about Michael Vick? Yeah, I'm really happy for these former players getting these coaching jobs. It really seems to do them well, don't it, Keith?
It depends on the ones we're talking about, I guess. But some have done well. Deion's done well.
Some have fell off a cliff, but
Trent Dilfer has not really set the world on fire at UAB. But
okay,
but
he did well in high school here. But he's only been there 2 years?
Yeah, and he got it over what the people at UAB thought were more qualified people, but they wanted the name, and But I didn't know Michael Vick really had coaching aspirations, to be honest with you. And whatever. And I know a lot of people, he's a very polarizing figure, and at least when his name comes up on my show, and I don't wish any ill will towards him. I mean, he made a mistake, and he paid the price for it, and you get to make mistakes and correct them in your life, and hopefully, he's done well. I think he's done some broadcasting, right? And he seems to have done.
Yeah, he was good. Well. I think I like the advice he gave Colin Kaepernick a few years ago about cutting his hair and everything. Remember, he got a lot of heat from that, Keith.
I do. Well, anybody who gets in, and helps Colin Kaepernick's going to get heat because.
Well, he was trying to give him good advice.
Yeah,
and they said he was being too hard on him. What's up?
Yeah, you can be hard on people. Why not? I mean, if they deserve it, and some people.
I think he was giving good advice. He was trying to tell them.
Some people love, right? And if you aren't accepting of it, though, it doesn't do any good. And
Keith Fingal coming in hot, strong opinions. Hey, let me ask you this. That was stuff that's off topic here. I was just killing time, and I thought that was interesting story about Michael Vick. But the Titans, the news of yesterday, they benched Will Levis here. He may have played his last game. And I was just talking about guys like Baker Mayfield have a rebirth in his career. Mm-hmm. He's having a 70% completion percentage. Tampa's really in the driver's seat right now to win in the NFC South. Then you got Sam Darnold, breakout player there. Another guy drafted in the same draft with Minnesota. Is Tennessee giving up on Will Levis too soon with those storylines?
Well, it's possible. I mean, sometimes it takes a quarterback some quarterbacks longer to get it together. You got to get in the right system, and you got to get confidence. And you run into a situation like, Bryce Young had in Carolina last year, where he was set up to fail. Will Levis hasn't had a lot of help in Tennessee. I was very high on Will Levis coming out of that class. I thought he'd be the best quarterback in that class before it's done. And maybe it will be before it's done. And it may be somewhere besides Tennessee, because it looks like he may have worn out his welcome there. He's a kid, too, that he may still have some growing up to do from what I've seen, too. But, if he moves on, sometimes you need to kind of just move on, sit around for a bit, do what Darnold did. I mean, he bombed out in New York, obviously, bombed out in Carolina, went to San Francisco and kind of watched some successful people. And sometimes that helps. I always go back to when I think about guys in rebirths, like Darnold, like Baker Mayfield. Yeah. I always go back to Jim Plunkett. There's no better redemption story.
Yeah, let's hear that. That's before my time. Let's hear it. What happened there?
Number one pick in the draft in New England, and flamed out badly. He had a few high moments, but he flamed out badly, but got the crap beat out of him for 4 or 5 years and got traded for a bunch of draft picks to 49ers. And expectations were too high in New England, too high in San Francisco. He gets picked up by the Raiders after a couple of years in San Francisco, and he's a fourth-string quarterback, sat around for 2 years, and all he does is get a chance, and he wins 2 Super Bowls.
Wow.
Should be in a Hall of Fame in my mind, Jim Plunkett. And
so he's the greatest turnaround ever. I thought maybe it might have been Rich Gannon or somebody.
I would say
way better.
I would say Plunkett's turnaround was better than anybody's in the NFL. And these are the kind of stories. It's going to happen. I mean, most guys are going to be who they are, and maybe Will Levis is just who he's been the last couple of years. But
I kind of hope he is. Being here in Nashville, Jim or Keith.
You don't want to see. You never want to see a guy who flames out in your organization go somewhere else and win, right? But
Yeah.
really likable, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, some guys get a second chance or third chance or a fourth chance. Darnold's got 4 chances basically, and now he's
Sam
making
Darnold. True. Yeah.
perfect coach in the perfect system. Plus, expectations weren't terribly high. That helps, right?
That's true. You really don't put all that stuff into the equation. I always think that some guys just actually outwork others.
Yeah.
And what you're saying, maybe just be the case where he knows that there's no pressure on him. He kind of figured maybe I was going to be a journeyman quarterback, but I'm going to kick butt like I have been. And they do have weapons up there in Minnesota with Addison and arguably one of the better receivers in Jefferson, and O'Connell's. He works with everybody.
Yeah, the question's going to be like after this year, if he cashes in somewhere else, is he going to land in as good a situation and be able to capitalize, right? And maybe, I mean, everybody's different. He's going to get paid no matter what. He's going to cash in on this, and it's probably not going to be in Minnesota, I wouldn't think, because they've got their quarterback of the future who got hurt.
Yeah,
and you're not going to be able to pay Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy, I don't think.
Right.
It's a little different than the Geno Smith situation in Seattle.
Right.
Because I don't think Darnold's going to try to continue that rebirth similar to what Geno did in Seattle in the same place. I think he's going to have to go somewhere else. There'll be plenty of suitors, and it's going to matter whether he's as good a fit there as he is here. Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, great quarterback coach. And I mean, he got Kirk Cousins a pretty good contract in Atlanta too. So he's a good
sure coach. Did. He sure in the heck did. What do you think about that situation in Atlanta? Wow, Keith, I tell you.
I talked about this earlier on the professional sports show on the National Streaming Sports, where I know you are now, and I'm sticking to what I said early in the year. I think the Falcons really blew it by not getting it. When I said more help for Cousins, I didn't necessarily mean receivers, and they got a pretty good offense. Their defense is terrible. It's horrible. And they didn't. You pay $40 million for a quarterback, and you go out and draft his replacement at 7 or 8 or wherever they picked
8,
Penix, and it was just silly. If you're all in right now to win, you don't pick a backup quarterback. Well, Penix is going to play now, but this team's not going anywhere. Whether Michael Penix plays well or better than Cousins or not, this still does not make this to me a justifiable move by them in the draft. I think they did wrong by their entire team and their quarterback by taking Penix there and not some help they needed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Themselves
Cousins was an expensive insurance policy.
Yeah.
If they were going to try to get Penix anyways, with Bo Nix being graded pretty high at that point,
You could have gone a different direction if you knew you were going to get Penix today. If that was your plan, they didn't take Penix there. You can't tell me that somebody was going to take him, in the next. I don't know that he would have gone in the first round, quite frankly.
Wow. I like Penix, man.
Listen, he's a great college quarterback. I am not sold that he's going to be a great pro.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll find out here shortly. There was a report. Scouts at this Rookie Watch site I follow on the X out is saying NFL scouts are saying that Dillon Gabriel is having a stock surge like Bo Nix and could potentially be the third quarterback off the board behind Schroeder Sanders and Cam Ward. Do you see a Tennessee taking him at like a 6 or 7 coming up in 25? What's your thoughts on Dillon Gabriel?
He may be the best quarterback in his draft, but I think this is a pretty weak quarterback. I'm not a fan. If I got a top 10 pick, I'm getting out of there. If I feel like I have to take a quarterback, I don't want to do it. It's Shedeur Sanders is in the top 10. Dillon Gabriel, I don't see any of these guys.
Gabriel's only 5'11", folks.
He's small. Yeah, I look at. He had a great college career. He played great this year within the structure that his numbers weren't overwhelming, but he finished 4th in the Heisman. voting. He's a good college quarterback. I just don't see again. I see a lot of Penix. I see a lot of Penix in Dylan Gabriel. I'm not a huge fan of either one of these guys on the next level. I loved them in college. They're great college quarterbacks.
They're both 23, 24 too, by the way.
Yeah. They're players. Yeah, correct. Which maybe helps them, potentially because you're a little more mature as you get into it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This draft class is very scary, and I think there's going to be a lot of overreaches and mistakes in this draft.
Some Sam Ponder type. Remember him?
From
Florida State. I can't believe he went in the first round. I was never impressed with him at Florida State.
And speaking of the Vikings and quarterback mistakes, there's one big one right there. I mean, they took him.
Only thing that guy done right, we picked a good-looking wife and Samantha Ponder.
He did okay there. Yeah, he did all right there. I can't in there. Plus, he's got a whole lot more money in the bank than I do. So who's laughing now?
I was thinking a team like Tennessee could potentially – sign Rudolph to one more year if they just absolutely done with the Levis. I don't know what they're seeing in the locker room, and maybe get a Jalen Monroe and let him sit for a year. But at times, Monroe looked super talented. He kind of looked like what Jalen Daniels is at LSU at times, and then other times he didn't.
Yeah, he's going to be a day 2 pick at best.
Really?
I would think he's not a first.
Oh, you're totally out on these quarterbacks.
I'm telling you, you're going to see some guys go. I mean, the Raiders keep talking. I keep hearing the Raiders and Shedeur Sanders, and if they're taking him 1 or 2, man, they better hit because that's going to go a long ways if he doesn't make it.
Yeah,
I am not sold on it, and I could be wrong. I mean, somebody's going to make it, but and again, some of these guys could make it, but I would not be risking a top 10 pick on any of these guys. I'd be picking back in the first round, second round, all of these guys, but it won't happen because this is what teams do. They see, I'll dig this stat out for next time I'm on, but I dug it out last year at the draft. And there's an unbelievable number of failures of quarterbacks taken in the top 10 of the NFL draft since 1968 or something. Like 8% of them have ever even made it to a Super Bowl. 8%.
Wow.
And less than 20 ever win a playoff game.
But what about Bo Nix? That's the flip side. He won 9 games. They're right in the playoff hunt. He seems to be a great fit with Sean.
Well, you find some guys laying in the right spot. Plus, he was a 14 or 15, wasn't he? He wasn't 1 or 2. He was.
Yeah, he was a first rounder though.
Yeah. And the guys I referred to were the guys who were taking a top 10. Huge misses, lots of them.
Oh,
Trent Dilfer wins the Super Bowl, but other than that, his career is, he
at the fortune at the
he's shooting
the Tennessee Titans here. Speaking of the New England Patriots, man, I was watching that game and I thought about you Sunday. Coming off that late bye week, Keith, 3 points at halftime. How long does Jared Mayo last with this Patriot team? What's your thoughts on that game particularly?
I've thought all along. I mean, I was a proponent of him getting a job. I thought he was coveted by some other teams.
Same here at the time.
Yeah, I thought it was
press conference.
I thought it was a good hire, and from his press conference on, it's been all downhill. I think his demeanor on the sideline. I mean, a lot of this. Look, it's not a talented team, so you're not going to win 9 or 10 games. But I mean, there's so many stupid mistakes and penalties that's coaching problems, not player problems, right? Yeah. Penalties are something good coaches can help mediocre players overcome, and some teams play better than the sum of their parts, right? Yeah. And this is not a team that's playing even up to their limited potential. And there's games where the defense has been horrendous. And last year they played, as bad as they were, they played really good defense, and they really didn't quit. And there's games this year where it seems to me that this team is just kind of packed it in.
Wow.
Said Robert Kraft's a pretty loyal guy, and he waited. Mayo bided his time, didn't go elsewhere. I I think he gives them another year, but I
Okay.
think it's going to be a very short leash.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see changes on his staff as well.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think Mayo will? And let me say this for the audience and you too, Keith. Brian Callahan down here in Nashville, if he doesn't make changes on his staff, that tells me that he's not confrontational. He's not the guy. I think he will. His dad's but that's the same thing. If he does not make changes like the special teams guy and whatnot, that tells me he's just not the guy. You're saying you expect Mayo to make those changes.
Either make him, or be forced to make them. One or the other. Which again, to your point, I'm more impressed when a guy wakes up and says, look, I got to make these changes myself, for the good of the team and whatnot, not be forced to make them to keep my job.
Right.
You don't have your convictions to do it yourself, then I'm not that impressed with the fact that you made the moves. And I think I like Covington, and he was a good position coach. I think he might be in over his head at defensive coordinator, and I've never been a big fan of Van Pelt. So I'd be okay if we place both coordinators this year. And again, a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball. Big plays, they can't get off the field on third down ever. They make penalties after they
do that.
Just too much of this. And again, that to me, it all comes down to coaching, and it's not a good football team. Don't get me wrong; they're not 3-10 just or 3-11 just because of coaching. The talent pool is not very good, but they haven't even stolen a couple wins they should have got. In my mind,
I was hoping they would have beat Tennessee a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they get a better.
Up and down. I mean, Drake May looks like the real deal, and that's the one good thing that's come out of this season.
That's what I was going to say. Chad is saying like the Titans. Drake May is 1 year in his career, and Lil Levis is 2 years, and Drake May looks like the guy. That he does look like the guy. He does have pocket awareness, unlike Will Levis. I did see some bright spots with him. And by the way, the Patriots, I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, 130-something million in cap space next year. They have a ton of money.
More than anybody. They had a lot, and they had some last year too, which again, we didn't make terribly good use of. And I hope there's some,
Tennessee last year.
I hope there's some offensive linemen and linebackers out there that we can spend this money on. I mean, we need a lot. I mean, that's the problem with his team. The defense has regressed. So the problem we thought, the biggest problem was going to be offensive linemen, and we still need that. And skill position. We need wide receivers that can get down the field. We don't have anybody.
Yeah.
But now there's problems on defense at linebacker. There's problems on the defensive line. There's some questions in the secondary, which we thought was a strong suit. Other than Gonzalez, I'm not sold on anybody back there right now.
Yeah.
I like Kyle Duggar a lot, but he's been hurt a lot this year.
Yeah. And you got rid of your pass rush, but he was 30-something years old, Judon, right?
Yeah, that move wasn't a bad move. I mean, again, it was time to move on. They weren't going to win a lot more games because Matthew Judon was on this team. He's a great player when he's healthy.
Yeah.
He's had a lot the last couple of years. Last year, he only played like 3 games. And the year before, he got hurt. He gets off the really fast starts too when he is healthy, and then kind of peters out the end of the year. But it was time to move on from him. And again, they can do better. Let some young kids play. And right now, their linebackers are really, really.
Would you like to see a T. Higgins, who's probably going to be a free agent next year?
I would be happy to see a T. Higgins come in here, but again, that needs to be addressed. But until you protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter who's out there.
That's true. That's true.
So they need to address both things on offense. Maybe Cole Strange gets back healthy. I have no clue what the heck is going on with him. It seems like he's been expected to pick up his regimen every week since training camp, and here we are, week 15, and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. Well, I think it's a lot to be excited about when you got a quarterback like that and all that money. Hopefully, Mayo will make those changes, and have the gumption to do so. I've seen it done before, and coaches bounce back, So Let's throw to the college game, man. I'm looking forward to these games this weekend. Does Clemson have a shot against Texas with all their experience?
The experience is there. I think they'll be able to keep the score down a bit.
Oh, no, I lost Keith Engel. All right, folks. He's just about to give another take here. And let me see if I can bring Keith back on. Looks like his whatchamacallit went dead there. I guess he'll come back on and I'll bring him back on. He just popped off. Internet freeze. I've never seen that happen with Keith before. Hopefully he'll come back on. Man, he's great. Andre says neither is the ownership. I guess you're talking about the Titans. It says this is where good players come to die at the graveyard. Oh, there's Keith. He's back on here. Man, got you right in the middle of a hot take.
Had a really weird little blip here. I don't know what happened.
Okay, yeah.
What are they talking about? Texas?
Texas ain't Clemson. So you think they'll keep it close?
I think they keep it close. If Cam Ewers isn't 100%, which he probably won't be. I mean, I don't see this Texas offense really going off, but I think Texas will beat Clemson in the long run here. I don't think Clemson's going to win this football game. I think
pull away late, Keith.
I think they pull away late. Yeah, I don't think Clemson has got enough firepower to stick with them, unless what the frick? I could Klubik can.
Yeah. It is a tongue twister.
If he plays great like he played against SMU last week, then maybe they got a shot. But I think Texas will win this and probably cover the spread. I think by the time the game's over, but I think it'll be a fight for a while.
Oh, wow. That's about, was it 11.5?
I think 11.5. Yeah. I think they'll pull away late.
Indiana's pretty close to Notre Dame. I'm actually looking forward to Isn't that a Friday night game?
It is Friday. I'm not really sure why.
Kind of weird, ain't it?
And maybe they did it because they want to be able to have, get all the time windows covered on Saturday and not have games overlap. But it's kind of weird that they got a game Friday night. But
any chance of an upset there, Keith?
I don't think so. I think Notre Dame has got their best chance since 1988 to win a national championship.
Yeah. Okay.
They really are in the right half of the bracket to at least get to the final. Oregon kind of got screwed in this whole thing with the number one seed, and Notre Dame's got to beat theoretically Indiana, which Indiana's played good football. The only good team they played, though, they didn't play well at all. This game's on the road. If we're in Indiana, I might give them a little bit more of a puncher's chance here. Notre Dame's playing great. Their offense has been getting better and better since their loss to Northern Illinois, as they figured out how to use Riley Leonard. I think Notre Dame wins this game and covers the spread. Yeah.
You know what makes me think it might be interesting is the fact that didn't Indiana beat Michigan earlier this year?
They did at home, and this is not a very good, despite the fact they beat Ohio State.
That makes me think different of Indiana because they beat Michigan.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I guess you got to put some credence into that, but this is a mediocre Michigan team, and Ohio State. Yeah. That's one of the worst losses in this rivalry that I can remember in my lifetime, and I'm 65 years old soon.
Does Tennessee go up there and upset Ohio State? I mean, I'm leaning Ohio State, even with all their issues.
I think Ohio State wins. Okay. I think it'll be a close game. I mean, I don't think either one of these teams is going to blow the other out. They both, Ohio State's offensive line is going to have trouble with that pass rush, I think, of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think Tennessee's going to have some trouble moving the football against that Ohio State defense. So
same here.
I don't see this being an explosive a game, and I think it's going to be played kind of tight to the vest. And I think Ohio State will win in a close one at home.
Tennessee may cover that 7.5, couldn't they?
I think they might. Yeah, I think they might.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think it's the biggest game of the weekend. I hate the fact that Tennessee's got to play Ohio State early, but it is what it is, of all fans.
If you're just gonna give the buys to the teams that win conferences, this is what's going to happen, right?
I hope they change all that.
They got to at least reseed in the second round, because there's no reason that Oregon should get the winner of Tennessee and
Ohio State right off the
Ohio
bat.
State right out of that'd be their first game in the second round on a neutral field. But Penn State's going to get they could theoretically, I don't think Penn State's even going to beat SMU, but theoretically, Penn State's got to beat SMU and Boise State to get to the Final Four, and Oregon's got a tougher road to hoe, even when they play one less game. They got to reseed in the second round. They got to find a way to overcome this, or it's
that's so stupid. They're so just. It's just like college.
Boise State can't get an easier matchup in their first game than Oregon's going to get. They just can't. They will, but they shouldn't.
They could not have screwed this up anymore.
No.
Do you think SMU? That guy's a pretty good quarterback. He's pretty mobile. You think they're going to beat Penn State?
I do. I think they're going to go up there because a couple of reasons. I liked the moxie SMU showed when they fell behind and it looked like they were going to get blown out against Clemson.
Yeah.
And at halftime, they kind of regrouped, caught their breath. Jennings they played horrible football in the first half. Turnovers, penalties, anything you can think of to shoot yourself in the foot, they did. But the second half, Jennings was really, really good. Made big play after big play. Third down conversions, fourth down conversions. He runs well with the football. I think early that game was too big for them early.
And then they settled down.
And I think I don't want to see them get off that kind of start this week. They won't win.
Yeah.
But I think that game probably will help them this weekend. And then you couple that with the fact that, James Franklin doesn't beat good football teams. He just doesn't. So that's why I like SMU a lot here.
Wow. SMU. Yeah. Hey, that's an upset there. I know Penn State's defense can be locked down at times, but
it's really the only upset I'll pick for the whole weekend is SMU over Penn State.
Yeah. I hear you, man. That's one I'm gonna have to study then. Okay. Yeah, Penn State. You're right. They really don't have a very impressive win. I never thought. I thought maybe USC would be, but yeah,
the USC didn't turn out to be a good win. I mean, they didn't play at Ohio State. I'm sorry, they lost to Ohio State. They didn't play Michigan. Their best win was Illinois at home.
Yeah,
really? That's your best win?
Illinois. And that coach, his offenses are very predictable.
Frank. He runs offenses like it's 1982.
He does. Brett Bielema, yeah. Well, I mean, if you catch them, if you get caught off guard against a Brett Bielema team, you can get beat. But
yeah, even Franklin though. I mean, they run an offense out of the 80s. They get down to the goal line and they're 3 runs up the gut and throw the ball on fourth down, and that's it.
Everybody knows you're going to throw it.
They were inside the 5-yard line 3 times against Ohio State and came away with 10 points.
And he's already fired his offensive coordinator. I don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah, and they lost. Hopefully, Allard doesn't get hurt because their backup is at the transfer portal. They got to change the transfer windows. You can't have guys opting out when you've got playoff games, and you're seeing guys leave playoff teams now. Because they got to get in school by January to be eligible for spring football. So
that's so ridiculous, man. They've got to put some guardrails and some deadlines on these things.
Marshall couldn't go to a bowl game. They were going to play Army in a bowl game, and their coach left to take the job at Southern Miss. And the next day, 25 guys hit the portal. 25 guys hit the portal, and they couldn't. They don't have a team, so they had to replace them in the bowl game with Louisiana Tech. This is getting nonsensical.
You can't make this stuff up. I don't know how Belichick's going to handle all this.
He's going to be interesting when he's dealing with 18-year-old kids who are demanding playing time and money and cars and anything you can think of. I do not know how he's going to deal with this stuff. I really don't.
They're going to have him talk to Michael Lombardi, his general manager he's hired.
Well, yeah, he hired Lombardi to be his GM, and he says he's going to keep like the football, the on-field operation away from the off-field operation. But I don't know how you can do that. You got to get out there and if you're Bill Belichick, you're there to bring kids there. You got to recruiting and transfer process, and if you're not, then what's the point?
I'm looking forward to it. Are you doing a show Friday? You have any guests coming on Friday, or is it going to be a rerun?
Friday, I have Jim Graziano on the one-on-one with Keith Engel show, who was a standout power forward and center at South Carolina.
Okay.
Back in the 70s for the great Frank McGuire, the legendary Frank McGuire. Played in the NBA and in Europe, and had a really good career as a teacher after his playing career. And I'm looking forward to talking to Jim. And in 2 weeks, I got Don Beebe, former Buffalo Bill and Green Bay Packer. Yeah.
You got Don Beebe. And now this show is at 9 o'clock Eastern a.m.?
9 a.m. Eastern on Fridays.
Yes.
Keith Engel.
TGI, TGI Sports, Keith Engel, everybody. By the way, I'm interviewing on January 8th, Keith. This lady her name is, and I can refer you to maybe interview her. Jenny, oh God. Her dad was the general manager of the Yankees in 77.
Paul?
Yes.
Gabe Paul's daughter?
Yeah, Paul's daughter, the Yankee Princess. She has a book. I met her at an Uber ride last Sunday.
Interesting.
I've got her book on order.
I'd love to have her on. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm bringing her on in a few weeks.
I had one other daughter of a big baseball name I had Nancy Finley on, who was the niece of Charlie Finley, who won the A's back in the 70s.
Okay.
We had a great with her. So
I thought you were going to say Chuck Finley.
No, not Chuck Finley. He's out getting beat up by his wife or something. Oh, that was happened already.
Hey, buddy, you have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you beforehand.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if I don't talk to you.
Yes. Happy New Year, Keith, and enjoy the games this weekend. Keith Engel, everybody. In the Keith Engel Show, TGI Sports. You can see him on my Facebook or whatnot. The National Streaming Sports on YouTube, or Let's Talk Sports on YouTube. But tune into that National Streaming. Keith is really good. Awesome, man. Big interviews. Don Beebe. Can you believe it, everybody? I remember Don Beebe. He played with those Super Bowl teams back in the day. So have a good night, everybody. I'll have Kevin Carroll on tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about the college game as well.